Real talk. Real talk. Real talk. Real talk.
What's happening, troops? Welcome back to another episode of A Little House in the Prairie podcast. This week we've got an absolute banger for you. One of my really good pals, and known him for a long time, all the way from Scotland, the hometown Irvine, or Drybridge to be more precise. We'll get Daz Scott in the house. What's happening, Daryl?
What is happening, Chazza?
Fuck all,
Long
mate.
time,
Just
no
the usual.
speak, no see.
I know, mate. I think the last time I saw you, I bumped into you outside Clubhouse when you were playing in there. You were playing a gig in there. And I was talking away to you for about fucking 20 minutes. And you're like, bastard, I'm playing shortly here. You fucking kept me here. I'm going to be late. You're kind of rushing a bit to get set up at the end up. But
Aye, that sounds about right, man. Aye, the Clubhouse. That's a bit of a distant memory now, man. That's been, about a year or 2 years that's been closed.
well, it would have been 2 years ago when I seen you, because that would have been back in 2019 when I was there. When I was there for 4 months, living with my dad and that.
Yep. Aye, the Clubhouse closed about December time, so you must have been around about the summer, because I was a resident in there for about a year and a half. Aye, that sounds about right. That's like my favourite place in the world, man, the Clubhouse.
It's good. See, especially a Friday night, a Friday or a Saturday night before everybody's going into the tune and that. Even if you're not going on a big night out, it's like, fuck it, we'll go and get a couple of pints in Clubhouse and then we'll see where we end up after. And there was always bouncing, man. Like, it wasn't the biggest place, but it was always fucking chock-a-block, wasn't it?
That's the thing that I loved about it, mate. It was like it was the energy of the place. Like, even though it wasn't even classed as a nightclub, it was still classed as a club because it was a pub, because they were serving food, you know, during the day and all that kind of stuff. But the guy that owned it, Duffy, like, utmost respect for him, mate. Like, that was my first residency in there, and I think for an idea of like a small venue, like, he nailed it, man. And like, playing like house and like playing a bit of techno, maybe a bit of old trance, all that kind of stuff. Completely different from what you would hear in pictures. You know, like, you get into pictures and like it would just be like Nate Dogg Shake That on repeat, or like end dubs. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I loved about it, man. I played in there probably once every 2 weeks, or it jumped between once every 2 weeks or once a month. But I loved it, man.
It was a good place to be, and I think he had the right idea, and he was obviously he was bringing in that kind of house and techno influence, and kind of brought a new sound to it. But at the same time, it wasn't just jumping all over the map, bringing in whoever the fuck he could get. He was bringing a lot of the kind of younger folk and the local boys into play, like yourself, and I know the boys at the Funk Agenda played in there a couple of times, and I think even my pal Rhys Taylor, he played in there.
I know Rhys Taylor very well, man. Harry as well.
Rhys and Harry. I used to play football, so when I played with Troon, Rhys was the right back. I played right mid. And I was dead close to him. His dad was our coach, so I used to be run at theirs just about every week, if not twice a week, kicking about with Rhys and Harry and Dundonald, man. Obviously, yourself just down the road in Drybridge, like, fucking brilliant, man.
Aye, he's a banging producer as well. Like, what was EP he released? It was God Made Me, and it was on like Motec, and I can't remember the DJ that played it, man. I remember
Maceo Flex.
Maceo Flex, that's it, man. Played his track. Like, seeing you're getting your tracks played for like guys that you've looked up to for that long. Do you know what I mean? Like, that must have been some buzz for him. That must have been some buzz.
Well, you can see where the influence came for they two, because even I remember fucking back when I used to be there all the time, like, their dad Donald, he's right into the old rave scene and all that back in the 90s and everything. He was heavy into it, so there was always that influence about the two of them. And I think especially the kind of people that they're just, again, like me and you were talking about there just before we started here, very driven and just non-stop folk that work their arse off. And I mean, that was a big thing for Reese when Macioplex played that, and he worked for years to make that happen, because he was out in Ibiza every summer, living there for like watching the DJs that were playing there. Eventually, he got his residency in Ibiza Rocks, I think it was. Unfortunately for me, both times I was over there, I didn't get to catch up with him, just because but he was that busy, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't even fucking greeting about it or anything, because you want to see folk do well, and you need to understand that they've got work to do and they've got to just keep pushing. So when I was there, it was unfortunate I didn't get to catch him, but.
Yeah. I loved his EP, man. I loved his EP, and I was I'm not particularly close with the boys now, but I did years ago, probably when I was about 16. We always used to go to gaffs in Dundonald and stuff like that, so I knew them quite well back then, but not so much now. But I do kind of keep in contact every so often with them. Actually, the deck sitting behind me, I bought them off Harry Taylor. They're Harry Taylor's old decks. I was a bit of a godsend, man, because I sold my decks, and then God behold, we went into fucking lockdown. I was oh fuck, man, like I've got the decks. And he's mate, like you can have these RX2s. I'll give you a good price on them. And he drove all the way down from Glasgow and fucking sold me them. So cheers, Harry. That's fucking
top boy, man. And he's been successful and all. I mean, I speak to Reese more. Obviously, when I was at home, when would it have been, about 3 or 4 years ago now? I had Reese up at mine and had a catch up and all that. And obviously, because I played football with Reese, I was a lot closer to him. But Harry's been really successful with the stuff he's doing and all. With the Lacura events that were happening up in Glasgow, I mean, he was playing on the same set list as Jay Lumen, who obviously yourself knows, big name on drum code and things like that. And
so he actually booked him for Club 69, and as far as I remember, it was David Sellers played in that gig as well. I just filmed a set for David Sellers for his Techno Live sets on Facebook and on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been signed to a record label. I don't know the full story behind it, but he messaged me and he goes, mate, I know you're working with Close Contact. You've got a bit of knowledge of filming sets. Would you mind coming down on a Saturday and getting a couple of camera angles, film it, take the sound, and I'll send it over to the guys who can edit it. And I think it was getting a stupid amount of views, man, because that's got 800,000 likes or something like that. And so it was quite a good feeling to do that for him, man. But I'm one of the reasons why I'm doing the Close Contact stuff and that as well is because I'm all about helping guys out like that, do you know what I mean, that are kind of up and coming. And I feel as if when me and Alan were younger, we never really had that kind of support. So to be able to kind of create that network of DJs and producers that you can bounce off each other and help each other out whenever you're needing help, I think that's fantastic, man.
It's brilliant, and you're seeing a lot of the Ayrshire DJs and producers benefiting from it as well. Because I mean, obviously you've got yourself and Alan, who were for Drybridge and Dragon respectively, and Reese and Harry coming out of Dundonald. I think Reese was living in Crosshouse with his dad when his dad moved there, and I think now he's over in Gibraltar with his bird. And then you've got folk like the Funk Agenda boys coming out of Kinnacle-Winning area, Stevenson in it. And then obviously Scoosh and Stephen and all them are Orphan boys. So, I mean, it's cool to see that everybody's starting to get the support. And obviously yourself and Alan have been doing this for a long time, because I mind fucking years ago, even before these were doing techno house stuff like that, these were making like hip hop tracks and folk were rapping on the beaches are making and stuff like that.
Aye, mate, facts, man. Like, I remember, we're kind of like shit console screams, do you know what I mean? Like jumping the genres. Here's a wee story for you, which will pretty much sum up how long that me and Al been making music. So I remember like the first software I downloaded, I don't know if you'll know this, have you ever heard it, Dan CJ?
I know what it is, but I don't think I ever had it or anything like any involvement in it. They're
basically like 8-bar loops, 16-bar loops, whether it be like melodies or kick drums or whatever. So like I started off with that, and I was like, me and Alan were using that. I think it was my dad that actually introduced me to it. And then, like, I remember, I mean, I must have been about 12 or something like that, maybe younger. And I remember like messaging Alan going like that, mate, there must be like another programme we can use that we can actually like put our own melodies and stuff into and like actually make stuff from scratch, because with this programme we're very limited. We can only like, as samples basically, do you know what I mean? Like 16 bar samples, 8 bar samples. So like the creativeness really isn't there. So he's like, right, we'll look into it. And we found a programme called Fruity Loops, which was, I think the first FL Studio we used, mate, was 7. So we're now on 21. So that
a long time.
That shows you how long. I remember making like a 4-track EP and it was total fucking garbage. But like at this point, I was going to the skating. Actually, you might remember this, man. You used to go to skating, didn't you?
I was heavy in the skating. Right. Friday, Saturday, Sunday every week.
Mate, I taken a CD in, right, with my 3 tracks on it, and I remember the track that get played. So I went up to Stephen and Johnny, like the DJs at the skating. I was at, right, here's my CD. There you go, not even USBs, mate, fucking CDs. Like, so is it alright if you can play my track? I must have been again about 12. Oh, blah, 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 aye, whatever. So he's at, right, I'll play it in 5 minutes, and I remember like running over to like all my pals and going, mate, he's about to play my fucking song. He's about to play my song. And he started playing it. And seeing this, it was a fucking, the song was a pile of shite. Like, the songs were shite. Like, horrible, man. But he played my track, mate. And I was like, oh my fucking God. Oh my God. He played about 30 seconds there. He turned it off and he went on the tannoy and went, Darryl, that's fucking pish. And then he put, like, another track over the top of it. And I put another song on, and I wasn't even angry at the fact that he went on the tannoy and said, your song shit. I was still buzzing at the fact I was like, holy fuck, this is what my music sounds like on a big sound system. Do you know what I mean? And ever since that moment, mate, I was like, I want to do this. Like, I want to play my music on big fucking systems to, like, loads of people. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's, like, that feeling that you get seeing you've created something and it gets played to an audience of that size. It's addictive, man.
Aye, definitely, and especially in the Magnum, in the skating. I mean, you know yourself, you were there often, but that sound system was fucking phenomenal. See, like the Magnum wasn't the most beautiful place. It was an older place, but the skating nights, they were some of the best nights that you had back then, man. Fucking again, similar to going a night out now in Clubhouse. Everybody was there. Everybody you knew was there. Everybody was fucking bouncing about. Maybe if you'd managed to rob some bevy and that, you were on it. And do you know what I mean? Like, see, just getting a chance to have other people listening to music and even get the feedback, it just gives you the drive to then go on and do it even more and get better and better. So next time that you do get the feedback, that you're determined to get that good feedback where folk relate to it, innit?
Totally, mate. Totally. I feel like it doesn't matter what feedback you get. Like, even if it's bad feedback, like, I've never ever get offended when somebody's turned around and said, like, a piece of music of mine has been shit, because I've always looked at it and went, well, what's wrong with it? Do you know what I mean? What do I need to, like, change to make it good? Is it from, like, an engineering point of view, or is the song just straight up garbage to begin with? Because it doesn't matter how well you engineer a track or mix or master a track. If it's a shit song, it's a shit song. So I think I'm getting to the point now where I'm starting to understand my sound more. Even though I jump genre a bit with my Daz Scott stuff, like, but I always stay within the house and techno kind of stuff. With Daz Scott, I think I have found my sound. And I think what finding that and developing that is, like, amazing, man. And, like, being able to look back on the stuff that you used to make all the years ago, like, fuck, man, we used to make dubstep and, like...
You've made everything. You've jumped... Like I said, I think the first song that I ever heard, I probably heard the one at the skating, but the first one that sticks in my head was one that Cammy McClure played me. We were sitting in art and he was talking about, you and Alan made the beat, and I can't remember, it was him and somebody else was rapping over the beat.
Was this your grand, by any chance?
Possibly.
Mate,
possibly.
I had to take that off my SoundCloud, and I had to get my wee sister to put it on her SoundCloud, because it's like, I'm trying to like take my career a bit seriously, do you know what I mean? But I couldn't delete it forever. I still had to have people to hear it, because it's like, it's Alan produced the beat, I rapped over it, I done the hook, and it was like auto-tuned and everything. I'll see after this is done, I'll send you the link to it.
So
Fucking,
I think that was the first one I heard, and then I obviously got involved in a lot of dubstep stuff and doing all that when that was kind of big, when it was kind of Skrillex was coming about, and you had obviously folk like Pendulum and Dr. P and stuff like that were kicking about, and they were all the big names. And then
the heat of like 2013 or 14 or whatever it was.
And then for there it kind of progressed into, I think everybody kind of progressed into the house and techno, and I think personally the reason for that for me was just it's a bit more structured. I'm somebody that's very OCD. Like, see if I go into something, I'm going to sound like an absolute weirdo when I say this, right? I've got to sound like a weirdo. See, when I go into somebody's house and they've just kicked their shoes off and they're sitting in a pile, that freaks me out, man. I need to go in, take my shoes off, sit them perfectly together so that the two shoes are beside each other, right way up.
You're out with the fucking compass and all that, like making sure they're angled perfectly.
Mate, no joking, yeah. It's one thing that really, really gets to me. And dubstep was a bit like that for me, where you had the build up, and then it's like, this is this hard drop, and this is the drop, and then it was kind of all over the place. Whereas with the house and techno, even with the build up, or when it comes to the drop and the look, like you've got your loops playing, it's a wee bit more structured. Like, you can kind of get in the rhythm, you can feel the groove, and you can kind of ride it rather than it being all over the shop.
It's more predictable.
Aye, that's it.
So, like, house and techno is notoriously, like, what's the word? Repetitive. Do you know what I mean? So, obviously, you've got all your subgenres and everything, but maybe more so techno than house, but techno used to be really, really repetitive, man. Like, back in the day, like, you're talking like the 90s and everything when it first started coming out. Maybe not even the 90s, maybe before, maybe like the 80s. And it was really repetitive, and it started off with guys like Jeff Mill, like your drum machines, and you like, then like maybe your old TB3 and everything would come into it.
Aye, back in the Detroit days when it was all that Detroit industrial sound that was coming out, it was again, and a lot of folk were taking loops for like funk tracks and soul tracks and things like that, and they were putting them over the drums, like you said, with the drum machines and things like that. So it was very repetitive because of there was sequences that were being used essentially, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was for dance music for me. Like, I actually get into raves and everything like really quite late on, and like the actual full scene. So like, when I was making music, I just made music because I loved making music, mate. Like, I never like said to myself, I want to make dance music or I want to make that. Like, I just made music. Like, I made a lot of kind of like ambient stuff and everything under like my old Arrow alias, which I've actually just kind of resurrected a wee bit to make like UK hardcore and stuff like that again, because I kind of miss the clubland sound a wee bit, so I brought that back. But that was the name that I made music under years ago, Arrow, and it was like dubstep, and I was making ambient stuff. It was just a wishy-wash bowl of everything, man. And I didn't get into raves and probably until I was like maybe 19 or 20. And then I went to my first rave. I try to remember what my first proper rave was. Was it Riverside or SWG3? But that completely changed my life, man. It changed my life, mate. And like, from that point on, I said to myself, right, I need a new name. And I need to like come up with a, like, do you know what I mean? Create an idea and create like something that I want to be passionate about. And I think my Daz Scott stuff, now I'm 25, I think my Daz Scott stuff only started when I was 21. So it's only been 4 years I've been doing serious serious music. You know, like before that, I was just doing it because like I enjoyed doing it. I've only really been DJing maybe 2 or 3 years as well. This is how long I've been DJing. See, when I started in the clubhouse, like my first day in the clubhouse, I'd been DJing 3 weeks before that. I just started. I'd just bought my first set of decks. Aye.
Mate, that's brave, because even see myself, for me it was obviously similar to yourself. You've got that Glasgow music scene where you've got SWG3 in Riverside. By the way, the Riverside lineup this year is fucking phenomenal.
Mate, the Sunday.
It's silly, isn't it? And then Sub Club. So the very, like, obviously, I had an idea what it was, but the first opportunity I actually got to go to a proper rave, a proper night out in a club, it was Dennis Salter was playing in Subby, and there was probably about 10 years went, and again changed my life forever. Like, see especially in Sub Club as well, because it's so small and it's so compact, and it's like, it's what you want out of a rave. It's a proper sweat fest. Like, yeah. Everybody's just mongoed, and it's hot and it's uncomfortable, and the tunes are fucking loud, and the sound system's right beside you in the cages. Like, you can literally go and put your hands on the cages and feel the power coming out of the speakers. And but even for myself, like, that was kind of what made me want to start learning how to DJ, and I've kind of been DJing now probably for a couple of years, but no anything too serious, kind of on and off. I really need to just start being more consistent with it. But see, that idea jumping into something 3 weeks after first learning, that's mental.
Me and Alan, it was. So what happened was we were having a drink in a pub called Smugglers, which is in Troon. And we were in there, and the pub was dead, man. There was only me and maybe a couple other people. Luckily, they were a bit younger, but the DJ was on, and he was like, "Oh, what he's wanting on?" And me and Alan had just finished our Unified EP. So, like, this must have been... We Run the Noise came out in July, and then the Unified EP came out in, like, November, December time. So it must have been about December. I think, like, November time, because we were like, right, okay, can we play an EP on the speakers? And I was like, aye, no worries. So, like, that was almost, like, we done that. We put the tunes on the big sound system, and see, like, how I said earlier about the skating, where, like, tunes on a big sound system and that feeling you get because you've made it. Do you know what I mean? You've created it.
Aye.
So, like, I got that feeling again, and I've turned around and looked at Alan. I was like, mate, I'm buying a fucking set of decks. And he was like, but you don't know how to DJ. Like, you've never DJed before. I'm like, mate, I'm buying a set of decks, right? And I was wrecked at this point. And I was like, what you doing? And I've got up, and I've got up to the guy behind the bar who owned the pub, and I was like, can we do a gig in here? Like, in a few weeks or whenever you're free? I'm a DJ. And I'll bring my decks and all that, and I can guarantee I can bring it with at least 50 people. He was like, hey, aye, man, no worries, 2 weeks' time, all right? I'm like, aye, that sounds class. So, ordered a set of decks. It was a wee set of like DDJ. I don't even know what they were.
Would it have been the SB3 back then?
I think it would have been. I think it was SB3s, mate. I think that was them. The one with, like, the scratch feature and all that you never used.
Aye, that's the one.
Aye. So I ordered them, man. It cost me like fucking 300 quid or whatever it was. Me and Alan just done a crash course in my bedroom for like a couple of weeks. Like, right, we need to learn how to fucking DJ. We need to learn how to DJ. And see that first gig that, like, we played in there, like, we never watched YouTube tutorials or anything, but I kind of knew how to beat match and stuff like that, because obviously we were used to, like, sampling stuff on FL Studio, and, like, we know when beats are lined up, so we kind of gathered that. You need to, like, line up the BPM and all that stuff. We never used the sync button, but when we were mixing the tracks together, we had, like, the volume faders all the way up, and we weren't using EQs, and what we were doing was there wasn't a turn off on the crossfader, so we just had the crossfader from one side, and then we were mixing in the other tune, we moved the crossfader over the other side.
But, I mean, hey, see the boss to go on and do that, and nobody's got to get it perfect the first time, but it's the learning in it. It's like you said before, the same thing with the first time when you got the feedback for Johnny and that at the skating, and it was like, it needs work. You always take everything as a learning opportunity. And
I tell you something as well. See that night in the Smugglers, 80 people come down. It was it was packing, mate. It was absolutely packing, but honestly, see, if you do speak to Alan, ask Alan about it. That first gig we played in Smugglers, it was packing, mate. And like the guy that owned the club was owned the pub. Like it was just a wee pub, mate. Like it was just a wee daft pub, you know. It's closed now. It's out of business, but it probably only held like 100 people, and there was like 80 people in it, mate. So like everybody was like crammed in there, and the guy was like, oh geez, why don't you come back and play it? I can't remember if it was like Christmas Eve or whatever. We went and done another gig, mate, and the other gig was exactly the same. And it was they two gigs. I looked at Alan and I was like, mate, like see that? I feed off that, like making music and then like, alright, you're playing other people's tunes, but see throwing in your odd tune. Do you know what I mean? And like people loving it, and like at that point, we done the noise had just started blowing up. I think it like at that point, I think it maybe had 100k or something like that. So like everybody knew that I knew anyway, like knew of that tune. So when I played that, everybody fucking like lost their shit, mate. And I was like, mate, look, I fucking want to do this. I want to do this so badly.
And that's what's nice about the wee venues as well, is you can test out the tunes that you've been working on, the ones that you've been making, and see, you can gauge the reaction. Because I mean, even the biggest DJs in the world that go touring all over the shop, they need somewhere to try this, right? Because there's no point in making a tune and then you play it out and nobody dances. Do you know what I mean? So you need that feedback for the folk that you're playing it to. And I think especially when you're just starting off, coming for being producers for so long and then moving into DJing, you have that learning process so quick that it's nice to make do with the opportunities that you've got and the wee places where we've got them, because
it was such a backwards way to do it as well, man. Like any other person we've spoke to, they've said, do you know what, I've been DJing for 10 years, but I've only just started making music. And then me and Alan are turning around to saying to all these people, oh, we've been making music since we were fucking 10. Do you know what I mean? We've only been DJing 6 months. So like the quickness of all that, like we played a couple of gigs in Smugglers, and like the gigs were pretty close together, like maybe like 2 weeks apart. And then like 2 weeks after that, I think it closed, and I was at drinking in the clubhouse one night, and I was standing at the bar, and I was gutted obviously because Smugglers had closed, because obviously the nights we weren't playing there, they weren't getting any people through the door. So I was gutted, man, but I was telling my mate Connor McKenna about this. Connor, I'll probably tell him to watch this, man, because he'll be like, aye, don't you forget and mention me about this. This is the only reason you got that gig. So I was standing at the bar with Connor McKenna, and I was like, fuck, man, I need a gig ASAP. Like, it's addictive. And he's like, oh, I know Duffy, man. Do you want me to go and speak to Duffy? And I was like, oh, no, I don't, man. Like, getting embarrassed and shit. I'm like, no, I don't, man. He's like, no, it's all right. He's sound. So he's shouted me over. And he's like, that's the first time I'd actually been introduced to Duffy and spoke to him face to face. And he was like, all right, what's happening? And he's like, Daryl's wanting to DJ in the clubhouse. He's like, oh, what'd you play? House and techno. He's like, mate, come in next week, man. That's exactly what I'm after, and do a wee tutorial. So I went down with my wee decks. Alan was there. I think Alan was away somewhere. And I played a tune, and Duffy's honestly, mate, up the back of the clubhouse, like. So, mate, you're in next Friday, man. You're in next Friday. He's just a guy that loves tunes, man.
It's nice to have that as well. Like somebody that's willing to give you the opportunity to give it a go, right? And when somebody loves the music, it gives you the freedom as a DJ to play the tunes that you enjoy, rather than
exactly, mate. Exactly.
Rather than like in pictures, I think it's a very similar thing to what goes on here, where they book the DJ, but it's like you've got to play this tune, that tune, this tune, that tune, and then it's
here's the
chart music in it.
Here's the playlist. You're the DJ. You need to play this playlist, and it's very sad, mate, because it's like when you think about the roots of DJing and everything, like that's not what it's about, mate. Like and it's went very controlled and EDM and very money orientated when it should just be about like, do you know what I mean? I like DJs that play stuff that I haven't heard before, man, and I'm like, holy fuck, like that's a fucking tune. Like, what is that called? And sometimes I won't even Shazam it because it was a tune that was it was so in the moment that I wouldn't want to hear it again out of context.
And I think that's why the admiration for some of the DJs, like you mentioned earlier, Scream. I think the reason why folk love Scream so much is because he's broke through the barriers coming from dubstep and obviously into a lot of kind of house tech house stuff. And the stuff that he plays in his sets is like, you didn't know that you needed it, but see when it comes, you're like, holy fuck. And I've seen him playing tunes like, I've seen him playing the Arctic Monkeys in his sets, which has no right being in a house and techno set, but see when you hear it, I think there's a video, he played a boiler room in London in a hotel when he played it with Disclosure, and folk were taking it, I don't know if this was planned or not, but folk were taking the pillows off the bed and fucking ripping them open. There's feathers everywhere, man. The cunt was crowd surfing. Like, he's just mental, man. That cunt has lost the absolute plot.
It's a video of him, playing the Dominica remix. The Backside Dominica remix. I gotta let you go. And he's all the drinks. You're just mate. You're a legend, man. You're an absolute legend.
He started on top of the booth, and fucking James Fasolardo's trying to hold it up. And then the best bit about that is James is like trying to make sure that he doesn't start in the mixer. And he tries to fix something, Scream starts going off his head, pure batting his hands out. He's like, fucking Leah, I know what I'm doing.
He leaves a high pass filter on for ages and he folds on the decks and then he goes, oh wait, hold on. Boom, bass kicks back and everybody's like, whoa.
I think, and even, I seen him when I was in IB for the first time. I seen him playing Elro and we were in Amnesia. And it was funny because he's the man in the booth. He's playing the tunes, and the security were threatening to kick him out because he kept fucking. So it was like a circus team. So they had like a canopy, like see one of the canopies you'd see outside a coffee shop or something that just crowd the wee table that's at the front. Right. It was like a canvas canopy, and he was playing back to back with somebody, and every time I think it was maybe, I don't even know who it was, maybe Darius Strosian or somebody. But every time, like, he'd step away from the decks and the other cunt was playing, he was hanging on the canopy and swinging his headphones a bit and trying to fuck about the CO2 cannons, and the security kept going up to him, telling him to stop it. But do you know what I mean? Like, see the folk that...
It's guys like that, like, that's what, for me, that's what, like, dance music and that's all about, man. Like fucking enjoying yourself, man. And, like, he's a guy that like goes out and enjoys himself, man. He makes banging tunes and he puts on a show. All right, okay, I don't agree with like a lot of the EDM stuff where you're picking up cake and you're throwing it in cunts' faces and all that stuff. But Scream goes there, plays a banging set, plays tunes that, do you know what I mean, are underground or they don't have a lot of money behind them. They're very house and techno, and as he says, he might throw in a bit of Arctic Monkeys just to fuck with people, but people love it. Do you know what I mean? And that's a good DJ, mate. Like a good DJ will throw in a track that you're not expecting, but you need in your fucking life.
And I think why that works so well is because he is in there enjoying the music the same as the folk in the crowd are. Like, the crowd feed off of the energy he's got. See when you've got somebody behind the decks, it's like they're leading the dance, and see when they're loving it that much, it gets everybody else involved. And when he's up there making an arse cell just pure mongoed and on the decks and fucking steaming and everything else, the folk that are on the dance floor and are steaming and everything, like they stop caring about making an arse of themselves because they see somebody else doing it and they're like, no, what, I'm just going to enjoy myself. Like, this is what it's all about. It's not about showing up and being... I think a lot of folk take it too serious and it's like an embarrassment of I can't make a mistake.
Aye, that's exactly my point, man. Like, DJs make mistakes in that as well. Like, I've made mistakes, mate. I remember the biggest one I'd done was I was doing a gig in the clubhouse, and the set of decks that I had, there were controllers, DDJ 1000s, and so the look button was like up the top of the jock wheel, but behind the fucking look button was the off switch. So I remember like, really, this has been like my DJ skills and everything were picking up. So this was when I was maybe 8 months deep into my residence at the clubhouse. I was like, do you know what I mean? Knob twisting, everything from my hands a bit. And I went, right, I need to look that bit, hit the look button. My finger slipped, hit the fucking off switch at the back. Everything turned off, man. I was oh fuck. And it's not the case of like hitting the stop button or the Q button and you can just like hit play and start playing again. No, you need to wait for the fucking decks to load back up again and all that.
I
get the Pioneer logos and all that, and you're like, everybody's like, and I'm just like, aye, I know, I'm a dick.
But that's it. You got to. It's not really about not making the mistake. It's about having the right recovery in it. It's about making the right moves after.
It's how you deal with a mistake. And one of the best ones I seen was Calvin Harris. He was playing a set, and the music stopped, and then he's on the microphone and went, "Rule number 1 of the DJ handbook: don't eject the wrong CD." And everybody obviously started laughing, and like that's again, that's what it's all about. It's still, you're there to entertain people, and if you crack under pressure and you start feeling the stress from it, like the crowd will feel that. See if you can like make a joke of it and like keep it light and go, "Oh, I'm a fucking dick, like I made a mistake." Everybody makes mistakes, hit play, and then continue as if nothing happened. All right, okay, the crowd will maybe take away for that like a memory, going, "Oh, mind that time fucking Daz Scott like turned the decks off in the clubhouse and made a cunt of himself." But if they like turned around and said that to me on a night out, I would be like, I know, I was fucking hit the off button by mistake on my helmet.
But
do you know what I mean?
Aye, that's it. And I mean, if the mistake happens, folk might remember the mistake, but if you recover from it and just keep playing it, 9 times out of 10, especially in a nightclub, folk are that fucked anyway that they don't remember that bit. They just remember having a good night. They remember the rest of the night being sound, and they kind of forget about the mistake that was made. And I think there's been a few cases of that. Even I seen one with David Guetta as well when he was playing Pacha one night, and he just fuck knows what happened. I'd need to ask him, but I doubt that's happening anytime soon. But he just completely fucked the beat matching. Like, it wasn't even close. It was just a fucking disaster.
Mate, Tiesto's done it as well. I can't remember that gig where Tiesto done it. It was like the kind of, he's like in the centre, and it's like a kind of raised stage, and it's like a dome, and it kind of like rotates. And it was like the old style CDJ, so you wouldn't have had like your big waveform and everything on it. So like, all right, okay, you might have had your beats per minute, but you would have still had to have matched the kicks and everything up by ear. So, but he done something, man, and the kicks were going.
That's maybe the one I was thinking about, actually. This has just come back to me. So it was Tiesto that done that. The David Guetta one was even worse. So he finished mixing his tune in, and he took his headphones off, and he dropped the headphones on the Q button, and everything just stopped.
No, and that's Martin Garrix.
That's who I'm thinking of. But I seen that one, and I was like, imagine playing in a fucking massive club with thousands of folk there, and that's what you do. You just make a cunt of it.
See, the thing is with Martin Garrix, right? People like will take the piss out of Martin Garrix, but I can really... It'll sound fucking quite weird me saying this, but like, he was really young, man, when like he blew up. He must have been about 15 or 16. And I don't think he DJ'd or anything before that era. I think he might have done a wee bit, but like, his tune blew up, Animals, and then all of a sudden he's main staging everywhere, like in the DJ Top 100, like DJ Mag stuff and all that. And like, that must be a lot of pressure for a young guy, do you know what I mean, to face.
I mean, I think in his case, it was one of the ones where, like yourself, you said you had only been playing 3 weeks and then get kind of flung in at your first gig. I think that happened to him on the biggest fucking stages in the world, which, again, is a whole other pressure.
I think it was like Ultra or something like that, man. Like, he was main staging at Ultra. Like, what? Do you know what I mean? That's insane, man. That's insane. And it's, again... I personally don't really like the EDM stuff because I can really see what it's all about now. It's just about the money. And he was headlining that because it was a money cow, do you know what I mean? Because his single was like #1 in so many countries or whatever. So like, for that point of view, I really kind of fucking hate it. But from like looking at him personally as like a DJ and a producer, like I've got a lot of respect for him, man. Because see, like to be able to like engineer a fucking banging tune. All right, okay, I wouldn't listen to it now. I might have listened to it when it came out years ago, but to engineer an actual iconic tune and then your career take off for there and still be relevant now, like that must have been about 10 years ago that happened. He's still relevant, mate.
It would have been a long time ago now. And to date on your own as well, obviously, you had Alan beside you and the two of you were kind of figuring it out together. Like, as somebody that's kind of figured it out, do you think it helped you? The two of you were in the booth and you had each other to kind of feed off of and learn together and everything like that?
I mate, 100%. I also think even in the studio when we started making music, so like I would find out something and I would go, oh, by the way, like, so what me and Alan would always come over to each other's houses, we would work on music together. We probably wouldn't release it or upload it, but we'd work on music and it would end up being like, oh, I've learnt this, did you know that? And I'd be like, oh, holy fuck, I didn't know that. And I'd be like, oh, but did you know this? And he'd be like, oh, I didn't know that. So we'd be constantly bouncing off each other, do you know what I mean? And like teaching each other stuff. And I don't think we would be anywhere close to the producers that we are if we didn't have each other. Definitely not, man. And we've got, I think this is what people don't really understand. Like, me personally, I've only been making serious dance music now for maybe 3 or 4 years. Like, I done a lot of fucking about and like recording lyrics and recording guitars. I play a bit of guitar and stuff, you know. I like making rap beats for like, I was highly involved in like the Scottish rap scene and everything when I was like 17, not as a rapper, but like making instrumentals for Scottish rappers. Alan was more like making hip hop beats for guys over in America, so he was getting like all sorts of attention for rappers in America, making beats for them. And then we moved into our dubstep stuff, and we've just made a fuck ton of music, man. And like, I've actually lost the majority of my stuff because I had my laptop that I was using to make my tunes on, the hard drive died, and I lost all my old stuff. And I'd love to be able to get back and like listen to like where I was back then and what my mindset was back then creatively. I think the kind of oldest stuff that I've got now is maybe 2018, but I know like I've been making music like probably 2010, mate. Do you know what I mean?
I remember you doing it for a long time, and then obviously the kind of first, for me, the first big tune that caught on, like you said earlier, was probably Run the Noise, where it was, and still to this day, I've got that on my phone when I'm in my motor and I'm flicking through all the tunes what we're putting on next. Every time I see it on that list, it's like, yes, that's on. And it's just, it's fantastic, especially considering you didn't make a lot of that kind of music before that song came out. That was kind of the start of it all, wasn't it?
So I'll give you the full story behind that, man. So like, We Run the Noise was the first proper Daz Scott song that I uploaded, and like the night I made that, I was in my house. I was going round to my pal's house and I was having a drink. I was going round to my pal's house. They were all drinking and I wasn't drinking, so I just went round to socialise. Well, kind of half socialise. I was going to sit with my laptop and make tunes, but still kind of jump back and forth with people. And I started making We Run the Noise. And see, as soon as I punched in like the first kind of verse melody, I was like, yeah, come and listen to this. Do you know what I mean? To a couple of my pals. Mate, I kid you not, like, maybe like 4 or 5 of my pals I showed the tune to, right? And they're all like, mate, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck is that? And I'm like, I've just made that. And they're like, no, you didn't. I'm like, no, I did. Like, it goes, but you're usually making dubstep and EDM and electro and rap beats and like, what's this? And I'm like, I don't know, man, it sounds kind of techno, doesn't it? And I'm like, it sounds really techno. Like, mate, that's banging. And I had a big fat kick on it. Boom, boom, boom. And I was like, oh, fuck. And then every day was like, mate, you need to upload that now. I'm like, it's not done. I've just made like a loop. Do you know what I mean? So like, they're like, you're staying in here all night till you get that finished and you're uploading it tomorrow. So I was like, right, cool, man. So the first version of We Run the Noise is like 3 minutes long, and that's the one that blew up on SoundCloud. I made it in a night, mate, and I uploaded it the next day, and it blew up, man. And
That's
see,
mental.
like, see that, like, that was just a magical fucking thing that just happened. And seeing that, me personally, when I look back in that tune, I don't think it's the best tune ever. Do you know what I mean? I think I've made better music, but because it was so in the moment and everybody just loved it and like felt it, like there's something magical about music sometimes. You know what I mean? When you create something and it's like, wow, like that's fucking class. And I mate uploaded it. I think it's sitting at like 400,000 or something like that now. Fucking something nuts like that.
That's mental. And the fact that you made it in one night as well is ridiculous. But like you said, sometimes you'll just make something and it's just got that something about it, that wee spark that just it catches on to people and folk just connect with it and they want more and more. So I mean, once you've found that, you've got to run with it. And I think obviously big shout out to all your pals that were supporting you to recognise that you were onto something here and sit down and get this done, because
it's something I've always been grateful for, Chazza, man. Like that my group of pals that I've had throughout the years, like they've done nothing. Well, the pals that are still about today anyway, like they've been nothing but supportive. Do you know what I mean? Like they'll like and repost my stuff, they'll share my stuff, they'll buy my stuff on Beatport to help me get into the charts. They'll come to my gigs. Do you know what I mean? And I'm very fucking grateful for it. Do you know what I mean? And they know if they ever need anything in return, do you know what I mean, I'll be there for them. And I think that's like very important to have like people like that in your life, like very positive people, very driven people that are like passionate about helping their pals succeed.
I've found that even with starting this podcast as well. Like obviously here, the Scottish folk like to talk, don't they? So my pals, I think, were just sick of me nipping their heads. They're like, yeah, you need to talk for a living. Like, you need to go and fucking start a podcast or something. And I heard that I don't know how many times. And then eventually I was like, no, what? I'm going to give this a go. And it's a hard thing to put yourself out there. See, to go and post something that you've worked hard on and you've put a lot of time and effort into on the internet, it's a hard thing to do. And you don't know how folk are going to receive it. But see, when you've got the folk round about you who can be honest with you and tell you if it's shit here, it needs work, it's shite, you need to sort it. Or when you've got something good, they actually show you the love and they support it and they keep pushing you forward to do better and better. I think that's a big, big thing. And I think obviously for yourself, having that round about you at the start is kind of, it paid off, and now we're seeing you doing that to a certain degree by supporting everybody else that's coming up, like Stephen and Daniel and the Close Contact boys as well. Because when that first came about, obviously me and Stephen are very close, and he lived with me for 2 months, and we've spent a lot of time together snowboarding, things like that. And when he told me about that, I was like, that's a fantastic idea. And him and Scoosh done the set in the Maritime Museum, I think was the first one. And then obviously we had Stephen on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling us about how your set at the Dragon came about. What was it that kind of made you just jump in? And I think he said it was like 4 a.m. or something when he messaged you, like, yeah, we're going to do this tomorrow. What was it that made you just go, no, what, fuck it, I'm on board?
When it comes to like music and stuff like that, for me, mate, the reason why I've been doing it so long is because I fucking love it. Do you know what I mean? And I was still on furlough at that point, and it's something me and Stephen had been talking to back and forth about. I'd never met Daniel before I'd done that set. I'd known his brother Lewis. Me and Lewis went to the Air Cadets and stuff like that together. And Stephen, again, I went to the Air Cadets with Stephen. I've known Stephen probably 10 plus years. You know what I mean? And he always, I think it was something that had been like, maybe him and Daniel had been like developing for a few months prior to like him like messaging me. And he messaged me a couple of nights before the set happened saying, "Oh, would you be interested in doing a set somewhere? What would you be interested in doing?" I was at, "Mate, Up the Dragon." But that was it. I was at, well, that was the first thing that jumped into my head. I was at, "I need to do Up the Dragon and I want to do a sunset set." And he was like, "What about sunrise?" And I'm like, "Okay, he'll know." I don't think I heard from him for a wee bit. And then I was in here, in my bedroom, must have been working on music, and it was like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I got a message off him going, "Right, do you want to do a set tomorrow, Up the Dragon, sunrise set?" I'm like, "Fuck man, sunrise, like it's middle of the summer, so like when's sunrise?" "Oh, about 5, 5:30. I'm like, "Fuck man, I need to get like 4 hours sleep. I don't have my tunes sorted out, I don't have events sorted out, I need to pack up my decks, I need to do all this stuff." And he's like, "It'll be worth it, but..." And as soon as he said that, I was like, do you know what? It probably would be worth it. Do you know what I mean? Because nobody's filmed a set up the top of the fucking dragon. Like, it's going to be cool as fuck. Everybody's going to be talking about it. It's probably going to end up in the papers. It's nothing but good publicity. And it's something that I'll always look back on and go, wow, that was fucking sick. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and I think, obviously, you said the dragon was the first thing that popped into your head. And I think you nailed it with that one, because it's, as much as Irvine is...
Do you know
not the greatest place?
Do you know the amount of people that I've spoke to from like maybe like Ayrshire or whatever, go in and they're like, I'll say, "Oh, the dragon," they'll be like, "What the fuck's the dragon?" Do you know what I mean? See the amount of people that don't know about it, you're like, "Are you fucking for real, man?" Like,
it's just iconic in Irvine, but innit, everybody knows the dragon. And I think that dates back to the days where you were probably underage and getting a bevy. As soon as it's fucking 10 degrees, everybody's down the beach and up the dragon.
Yeah. No, even that age, mate. It was something I'd done a couple of weeks ago with a couple of my pals. We were up sitting up at the dragon. So as long as you're there first and you've scared everybody else away, you're fucking sorted. It's a spot that people fight for, but especially if it is a really nice day. Like, see, like the benches and everything inside it, like, you're like, "We were here first, get to fuck, this is our spot." It's like that episode of Still Game where they're trying to fight over the bench. That's what it's like, mate, Up the Dragon.
I mean, especially, like you said, especially in the hot days when everybody's tapped off down the beach and getting the sun any chance they can get, it's iconic. And the only thing you need to watch for is the fucking Polish one to ruin everything, innit? And pour Bevy out in that fucking useless cunts.
Definitely, man. But the close contact stuff, after, so we've been done, and obviously you'll probably know the full story if you spoke to Stephen, but after we went and filmed the set, I was talking to him afterwards. I think they were kind of rough at this point now, but they're like, how do you feel about maybe like helping us out? I was like, well, I don't really know a lot about filming, and I don't really know a lot about all that stuff, but I'd love to find out, because I've filmed my own music videos and stuff like that before, like really shitty music videos. So I'm a creative guy, do you know what I mean? So I'm always up for learning that stuff, and like anything I can do to like feed that kind of creativity, like I'll do it. And I turned and says to Stephen, I says, look, when it comes to the point that when your brand gets kind of big enough, like, let me be the record label manager, because I've always wanted to run my own record label and like help artists. I think it was something we touched on earlier on, like something me and Alan never had when we were younger, was that support network where if you're making music, you want to get genuine feedback off people. So like, obviously me and Alan have got a really strong kind of engineering understanding of the music stuff now, so we know when something's like just been bumped or something's been made on something, or like we can hear all that stuff, if it's been EQ'd correctly, if it's clipping, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I would love to be able to kind of like push the kind of generation below me, or maybe even the generation below that, kind of push them, get a bit of confidence behind their music, and we can sign them to a record label, and we can get their music on Spotify and Apple Music, Beatport and all that stuff. And it's all about, again, growing that network of people that like trust each other and like can feed off each other and grow as a community. Because as far as I'm concerned, see if one is win, we all win. You know what I mean?
And that's a great mindset to have as well. I think there's too many people that are very selfish and they don't want to see anybody else win and they want all the glory. And especially for yourselves, having that mentality where it's a team effort and you just want everybody to win. And if one person can make it and really go and do big things, then that's a success in itself, and everybody else can take pride in it. And I think he's were really successful as well. Obviously, your first release on the label was Alan himself that put that tune out, and it was phenomenal. And I mean, Alan's, like we've already spoke about throughout this, Alan's extremely talented, and he's somebody that knows his shit, and he's been doing this for a long time. And then more recently, you even got Gus. I think Gus is fair, isn't he?
Gus is fair, mate. Aye. Gus is a young guy that's like very keen. And like very keen to learn in that as well. And I mastered the tracking that from him as well, just to get it up to that standard so that we could release it. And that's a banging track. That's a banging first track. Like, but I was thinking about, like, I'm not sure how long he's been making music for, maybe probably a couple of years, let's say. But like compared to like how long I've been making music and the standard that he's at, do you know what I mean? Just for the amount of time he's been making music, it's fucking incredible, man.
I've been following Gus probably for about 8 months now, close to a year. I think probably since the first set he played with Close Contact, maybe a wee bit before that. And the stuff that he does is phenomenal, and you can see it. See, even if you go on his Instagram and go through all the pictures and all that, you can it's just oozing the passion for it. You can just tell he fucking loves it, and it shows in the track that he's made. I mean, it's a phenomenal track.
Again, this is what it's all about for me. It's like, it's kind of rooting out these people. Do you know what I mean? And like, I can kind of like see through shit and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So I can see people that are doing it for the wrong reasons and people that are doing it because they're fucking passionate about it, man. And Gus is passionate about it. And we've also got a single coming out from a lassie, I think she's for Drawson, called Neva, which again is a fucking really good track. And I'm mixing mastered and everything for her. And if I can kind of give these younger artists a bit of confidence and like give them a bit of support in that as well, and like maybe show them some of the stuff that I've learned through the years, and they can like develop that into their own sound, like I'll take nothing but pride in that. I feel as if like I've done something to help them out. You know what I mean? And if they like do go somewhere and they become successful, don't get me wrong, I'll never turn around and go, oh, you wouldn't be there if it was there for me. I could sit back and go, like, do you know what? I'm really like proud to have been a part of your journey and to have helped you out. Do you know what I mean?
You can take.
That's what the community. I think that's what the dance music community and everything's about. It's about helping people out, man, and it's about like,
It's building a family, innit? It's going back on all those the values that kind of started it, of inclusion and just freedom of expression and just enjoying and admiring each other's work and being constructive and helping people build to their potential. And I think you've had it right in the head. I mean, I'm excited to hear what she's going to come out with, and I think her set up at Lug's Pencil was possibly one of my favourite sets that Close Contact have put out.
Yeah, she's very like hard techno orientated. So as far as I remember, the track's 140 beats per minute, which is a lot harder than how I would usually go personally. I usually draw the line about 135, and like I don't get any higher than that unless I'm playing like old trance or something. But it's a fucking decent track. It's a decent track. And again, like a first track to release and put out to everybody and like kind of start your brand, there's no better way to start it off for Gus and Neva. And MDLs, I'll say that as well, MDLs that's watching the podcast, like, feel free to message me on Instagram with your demos and I'll listen to them, I'll give you feedback. If it's not good enough, I'll give you genuine feedback on like an engineering point of view and say, right, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that before it's up to a certain standard. I'm not going to turn around and say, nah, it's not for us, get to fuck. Do you know what I mean? I'll give you the feedback that you need, because as I said earlier on, it was something that I never had when I was younger. And if, you know, me and Alan had that when we were younger and we had that support, we could be somewhere else in
And I think that's what's working to your advantage here as well, is the fact that you're willing to give that feedback and being a small label and building your own platform. It's setting these apart for these bigger labels, because a lot, like you said, a lot of the bigger labels, if you send them a demo and it's just not up to scratch, they are just going to turn around and go, "Nah, mate, that's shite. We're not for it." They're not getting any patience with you. They don't want to help you. They don't want to see the potential. They want it done right now. They want it to be perfect right off the bat. So
even like I've sent a power. I think I've got like 12. I've been signed to 12 labels. And see, even your smaller labels that I've sent demos away to, they're no fucking interested, man. They're not interested in giving you the feedback, and I can guarantee as well that they don't get that many demos through their emails, do you know what I mean? See, if you've got under like 1,000 followers on like Instagram or whatever, like you're going to be getting a couple of demos a month if you're lucky. You're not going to be getting a lot of demos. So I feel as if if you are a small record label, you do need to put that extra bit of effort into it. Do you know what I mean? And like be willing to like give people decent feedback. And that's always been like my kind of vision. Where when as I said, I've always wanted to do my own record label. So helping people out as much as you can is definitely the best way to go about it. Because they're going to remember that as well. Even if you don't accept their music at the end of it, they turn around and go, "Do you know what? They guys gave me some good advice, and I'm going to apply that to my next project, and I'm going to become a better producer or a better artist."
And then it develops that level of respect as well, where they feel comfortable that they can come to you, and even when they do take the feedback and they go and apply it and they start working on it, and then they make something new, something that they feel is improved, they're going to come back to you and again, because they know that even if it's still not quite there, if it's missing one or two things, they're going to find out what the one or two things is. It's not going to be a straight up, no, it's shite, and then you're left there trying to figure it out on your own. And you know what it's like yourself, like how much time you waste trying to figure stuff out on your own. Whereas if you've got somebody there, like you were saying when you and Alan were learning, somebody there to bounce off of and to get the feedback from, and to give you a wee bit of guidance and point in the right direction, you can develop much faster and you can get to where you're trying to go a lot easier and a lot less stressful.
Chaz, I've got so much like music knowledge that I could fucking bore you to sleep right now. Like, honestly, mate, like I've got so much like up here that I've learned through the years about like EQing, compression, reverbs, delays, like synth design, do you know what I mean? All your different types of synthology, like, fuck man, like, it's mind-boggling stuff, man. And like, as I say, it's like me and Alan have been doing it a long, long time, and this is another thing. So like, we're not just a record label. Like, I do the YouTube tutorials as well. I don't know if you've not seen them on the Close Contact
I've seen them. I watch everything on Close Contact. See the fact that it's like yourself, Steve and Daniel. Like Steve, yourself, obviously, we've known each other for what? I think we were talking earlier about 15 years or something.
Mate, aye.
I've known Stephen for a good probably 10 years at least, and Daniel longer than that, somewhere in the middle, because I mean, I used to, even before I knew who Daniel was, I used to play Xbox with him and all that, and I knew him for playing like Modern Warfare 2 and stuff like that. But so everything you do, I'm always on top of, and I think I've took a lot of inspiration with what I'm doing here for the success you've had and the way you've have stayed true to the kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, stayed true to the principles that you've built this on, and just working hard and making sure everything's done right, and it's quality over quantity, innit? You're only just doing it something for the sake of doing it and seeing if shit sticks to the wall. You're doing it for a purpose.
And again, one of the reasons why it does work the way it works is because I think we all bring our own thing to the table. Like, obviously it's Daniel and Stephen's thing. Like, I just do the record label stuff and I'll help out with bits and bobs here and there. Stephen's a workaholic, man, when it comes to this stuff, you know? And Daniel as well, like you know Daniel's background within like the events industry, the music industry itself. He's got so much experience. So like, and then you've got me, you know what I mean? I've got all my production stuff that I've been doing for over a decade. Do you know what I mean? I 15 years or so that I've been doing that. So I bring my sound engineer and everything point to it, my production skills, and then that's, you know, Stephen will send me over demos and go, what'd you think of that? And I'll turn around and go, mate, it's like, it's been heavily sampled, I can hear it, like it sounds like fucking whips off a sample pack, like, don't touch it. And you'll go, oh, I never heard that. So like, that's why I wanted to run the record label and bring my own thing to it. And we work really well with each other. And it's something that, obviously Alan moved away and went to Germany a couple of years ago. So it's a kind of void that I've been missing, being able to work with people that are on the same level as me. And obviously I still do my music and all that stuff, but doing the video stuff and doing like the record label and everything, do you know what I mean? I think it's fantastic, man. It's been a bit of a lifesaver, especially during like the pandemic where I was on furlough and I couldn't do anything. So being able to do all the close contact stuff's been fucking amazing, mate. And I'm really excited to see where it's going to go in the next year or so.
I think you've got to do amazing things, and you can see it like yourself. Obviously, coming from a music standpoint, you've got all the experience there, and I don't think they could have found anybody better to take over that kind of side of the whole project. And then, like you said, Stephen with the business and just being driven and just the work ethic, and you're seeing that as well coming with a lot of the stuff they're doing, they brought Glenn up for England and they're expanding down there and trying to kind of branch out, building off of the kind of core kind of Ayrshire-based, Scotland-based DJs that he's had. And then now with the clothing line that's coming out, we got a wee bit of a preview in the last episode we done with Stephen that he was wearing. There you go, the close contact hoodies. I'm already on to him. I've got pre-orders and I'm like, send me everything you make, man.
Getting bullied.
It's all right. Hey, see when he even told me, see before he's had anything made, when he told me, oh, we're going to do merch, I was like, get it sent to me. I was also gutted that I missed the Daz Scott hoodies as well.
Oh, that was a while ago now, man. That was filmed last year. I
was kicking myself, see, because the time that it came out, I was like, it was one of the ones where I had a bunch of money tied up in other things. And I was like, right, see if I can just get rid of one. I can go and get one. And then by the time I get round to it, it was like everything was gone.
See, to be honest, mate, it's maybe something when Stephen launches the close contact stuff, it might be something I might get Stephen to help me out with, because the way I done it, it cost me a fortune. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't making any money off it. So like I think I was charging like 25 quid a hoodie, and it was costing me like, I don't know, like $24.50. So I was making like 50 pence a hoodie, but I was more happy to have people kicking about my brand rather than making dough off it. And the quality of the hoodies weren't great and the print was great, but these organic hoodies that Stephen's got are fantastic, man. This has actually been washed once now, and it's like still, I think it's recycled materials and everything as well, the embroidery and everything on it's fantastic. So when this launches, like, I think it's going to do very well.
I'm going to be getting a couple of hoodies, a couple of t-shirts anyway. I've already got the pre-orders in, and like you said, again, that's another thing. The same way as you've been doing the music for this long, Stephen's been doing things like that. I mean, we were talking a wee bit earlier as well. Back in school, he had these Oppose clothing brand that I think he learned a lot off of doing that, and obviously that was something that after a while it just kind of fizzled out for him. But even back then when he was making the stuff, it maybe wasn't the same quality as it's at now, but it was still quality, and the ideas that he was bringing to the table was good, and folk were buying it, right? And that's the main thing. It's just keeping developing.
Stephen's a genius, mate, definitely, man, and so is Daniel. And like, I've learned a lot from Stephen and Daniel as well for like, over the few months I've been working with him, and it's actually been fucking class to like have an excuse to talk to Stephen again, because me and Stephen obviously were really close when we were younger. We went to cadets and all that kind of stuff. So to kind of reignite that kind of friendship with him is nothing but good. And also it's class to sit here and talk to you as well, because we've done a lot of bad shit when we were younger together.
We've known each other for a long time, obviously through primary, and then we done judo together when we were young, and we're always kicked about doing mad shit. And it's probably been, like I said, after 2019 when I caught you just outside Clubhouse. There was probably the first time I'd spoke to you in about 5 years or something like that, which is a shame. So it's good to catch up with you. I mean, some of the mad shit that we've done over the years, I think the one that sticks out with me was, fuck it, obviously we used to do the judo, and I can't remember what it was going on. I think there was a tournament coming up or in something, and you were always like, look at me, I'm skinny, I've always been this way, but I wasn't always as tall. I was quite small for, especially at my age as well, like the skills, because I'd been doing judo for a long time, probably like yourself, so they were getting...
You were very short, man, as far as I remember, but you were skinny, so you must have been about 7 stone or fucking...
I would have been around then, but the thing that I had on my side was, because obviously when I started in Corinnan, and then I went over to Clonquai in Kilmarnock where you were, and that's where we kind of started doing it together, and I was very technical, and I was good, even though I was small. I was smart with what I was doing in my movements, and I was a bit like a sponge, and I soaked everything in. And I remember we were coming up on, I don't know if it was either a belt grading where I was going for my blue belt, or it was a like club tournament or something, and they were trying to get me prepared for it, and they were making me fight like yourself. I think they were making me fight a couple of the older boys that were kicking about, and
aye, because as far as I remember, was I a couple of grades above you?
I think at that time we were about the same grade, but you were much heavier than I was, so you were doing a lot better in the tournaments, and you were doing a lot. Because see, my problem is I would go, especially with the belt gradings, like you had the same problem as me. We were developing so fast that when we got to the belt gradings, we were probably I'd have been about 13 and you were probably about 14, maybe give or take a couple of years there. And then they were making us fight folk that were 16, 17-year-old. And obviously for yourself, you were a lot taller, a lot longer.
I always get fucked up, man, because I was always a tall cunt. I was always like 6 foot. And it'd be like, right, okay, 13-year-old Daryl, you're up against all the black belts. And you're like, fuck, man. I remember the guy with the cauliflower ears?
Aye.
Mate, fuck me. Every time I fought that guy, it was just like kind of like sparring or whatever. He used to fuck me up, man. Like, actual fuck me up. Like, ragdoll me about the place. And I must have about 8 or 9 stone, just under 6 foot.
I think obviously you were a lot bigger, and so you get matched up with a lot of the bigger guys. And then for me, my problem was I just wasn't heavy enough. So see, even when I was scoring, when I was throwing folk, the second was on the ground, I was just getting rolled and cunts were pinning me. And it was like, so they were trying to get me to fight up and fight against the heavier folk. And I think especially yourself, was because we were so close that it was perfect for me to develop, because obviously you're getting your lickings and cunts are ragdolling you, but at the same time, it's a wee bit better when it's folk you know, because then the same thing with the music, you can turn around and you can get the feedback. And I remember the one night we had been just after judo, your dad used to take us to McDonald's after we were done every week and get McFlurries.
Yep.
And I think you gave me a kicking that night, and I wasn't happy about it. And the two is, I never was happy with it. I was a terrible loser. I still am to this day.
Was that the night we were fucking squaring up in McDonald's car park?
Aye, we were just about scrapping the car park. Your dad's getting off his heat and tells, oh, you two, back in the fucking motor, the twos are just a bit ragdoll each other. With it. The worst bit about it was with the white
suits and everything on.
the white judo suits. And I remember your dad saying, your mom's going to fucking leather you if you get that market. The twos are rolling a bit in the dirt.
The one that sticks out to me, mate, 100%, we came back for the judo one night, and my dad had just bought me a slingshot. And we're like, right, we'll go out with a slingshot. So I think we started off in the woods. We were like that, boo, boo, hitting the trees and stuff like that. And we're like, all right, okay, we'll go on top of the bus stop at the front of the road. And again, we must have been about 11, 12, something like that. Just we fucking idiots. We still don't get up to that these days. Top of the bus stop, cars going by, fucking lunging rocks at the motors, and we hit one car, and the guy fucking come into the street, and Chester's running the street. And he's like, right, you wee bastards, grabbed us by the ears, taking us up to the front door, knocked on the door. My dad's like, what's going on here? Goes, these wee bastards have just been fucking launching stones at my car. And I can't mind if I turned around like that. Oh, it was a slingshot. And my dad's just went, oh, fuck, I gave them that. Your dad's come in to get you and fucking swung you about the living room just about.
It wouldn't have been the first time. I kind of got a few doing so my dad for dead stupid shit like that. There's one that always sticks in my mind. I was probably about that age. It might have been that night actually. I was probably have been about 12-year-old, and my dad turns round and he says to me that, you know what my dad's like? He's always joking and he's always having a laugh, but he was dead serious.
Fucking old school, man.
He's dead serious. He turns round and he goes, you're 12-year-old now. With any fucking problems, there'll no be any grounding, no be any shouting. We'll be going out the back and I'll not fuck at you. And he's deadly serious. And see, still to this day, see if I was to do anything stupid, he would live up to it. He'd just start fucking leathering me and not fuck at me, so he would.
Your fucking dad's some guy, man.
He's still kicking about, man. He's still hard as fuck. So I don't think I'd try. I think maybe if I had a couple more years at the judo and I put a wee bit of weight on, I'd have a chance. But I don't know. I don't know so much.
I think that's something we have common with each other. Like, I think we were both scared of each other's dads, because I think both our dads are scary characters, man.
Your dad's massive, man. I was always my best behaviour, because I was like, there's one thing if my dad knocks fuck at me, right? Daryl's a bit bigger than I am. See if Daryl's dad knocks fuck at me, I'll not live much longer. I'll be across this shortly.
Good times, mate. Fucking good times.
Obviously, leading off doing Run the Noise, you ended up doing the remix of Oxy B with Energy Crew as well, and you got a lot of success with that. A lot of folk were really impressed with what you were doing there, and I think that's kind of blew up a bit on Spotify or on SoundCloud as well. Yeah,
definitely, man. So basically the story with that was, like, I had like an idea in my head. I always wanted to do I love like my McKenna stuff and like my Glasgow MC stuff, and like even like my MC stomping, like you can't beat it, like, say especially if you're in a gaff, you're having a drink and a bit of stomping comes on the Oxy B, like it's class, man. So what I done was I wanted to do like a crossover, like a tech routine, but I wanted like sample Oxy B, like catchphrases or like hooks or whatever, and throw it into a tune. So I like grabbed like an old like freestyle I done or whatever, where like there was hardly any like instrumental in the background, and I just put a noise gate on it. I'm like, right, okay, I don't have an acapella, that'll do, cut that. Show me the Energy Crew. I'm like, right, mint it. So I finished the track and I've mailed Oxy B and I've said, right mate, I've just done this track, I've sampled you, is it cool with fucking use the sample? And he was like, oh mate, that's banging, blah blah blah, like messaged me back, and I had a bit of a back and forth with him, and he was like, look, if you want the acapella for it, look, I'll send you over the acapella. So I was like, it's all right, man, I think I've got it finished anyway, it sounds good enough. He's like, right, cool, blah blah blah, aye, that's banging. And like shared it to his story, and I think I got like 30 fucking followers at it or something like that, like on Instagram. So I was like, all right, that's quite cool. But the big thing was, it blew up a bit on SoundCloud, so I think I got like 10,000 plays or whatever it was, do you know what I mean? Which is cool as fuck. And again, like, really sound guy to fucking talk to, like, through message. And he was like, aye man, I love that, that's class. Like, if you need any more acapellas, hit me up and I'll hook you up with some.
That's class, man. It's good to have especially the folk that you admire and the folk whose music you actually listen to support you and tell you like what you're doing is that they appreciate it, right? Like it's a cool thing. Again, going back to the whole support thing, the feedback thing, to have somebody that you look up to a certain degree with the music that they make, to then recognise the hard work you're putting in to make the quality music that you're making.
One of the biggest ones that happened to me was I get signed to James Allen's record label from Public Domain, which was interesting. So I done a track called Geiger Counter with Alan, which was years ago. If you've played Fallout, you'll like Fallout 4 and Fallout 3.
I don't think so. I stopped playing Xbox when I moved to Canada, unfortunately. I had to sell everything off, and then it just took up so much of my time before that I stepped away from it.
So Fallout is like one of my favourite games ever, man. It's like an open world, like post-apocalyptic. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, man. Like after a nuclear bomb is dropped and the world's destroyed, right? Post-apocalyptic world.
There you go, spot
on. So I like sampled the theme tune to that, so it's like, I don't want to set the world on fire. And that was an old song from like the 1940s. And I just loved that theme, and I was like, do you know what? I want to like have this theme with like Fallout, like Geiger counter, radiation. So like I had the drop having like a Geiger counter going, and then I sampled a couple of the characters and everything and made it dead glitchy. And I done this, the first version I done with Alan, it was like 2 minutes long. And then I was working down with a producer DJ called Jason Curry down at the Public Domain Studios in there. And he's turned around and showed, so he shared a studio with James Allen for Public Domain and Mark Sherry, who's probably guys you might have heard of.
Definitely.
So like, obviously Operation Blade was a fucking massive tune, man, when we were at the school. Like, basing the price, London, boom, mate, it was a massive tune. So
still a massive tune
to this day, 100%. So Jason had turned around and showed James that Geiger counter tune, like the rough version of it, and he's messaged me and been like, look, you want this track signed, it needs a bit of work, it needs to be longer, it needs that. So I worked on it for a couple of weeks and done like my own version of it. Still kept like the original elements of it. I made it 7 minutes long and made it a banging hard acid techno fucking track. And he was like, mate, that's class, man. I'm going to sign that to my label. So like to have, like, again, that kind of recognition for somebody, you know, has been a major player like in the Scottish dance music scene. Like, I mean, they were in like the UK charts. I don't know what they were. I don't know if they were number 2 or number 3 in the UK charts for weeks with Operation Blade in like 2001 or whenever it was.
Massive tune.
So to have somebody like that with that much credibility and somebody you look up to and like respect, turn and say, mate, your track's banging, I want to sign that to my record label. Like, that was like that's probably one of the highlights as well.
Definitely. One of the ones where you kind of open your eyes and you go, hey, like all this hard work and effort I've been putting in is paying off. Like it gives you a bit of belief and a wee bit of fire lit under you to just keep kicking on and keep doing more and more, doesn't it?
Definitely, man. And that, like, after that, I think that was maybe last year that get released. So that was like just before like the lockdowns and everything. So that kind of fueled the fire in me to make I made a lot of music last year, man, a lot of free downloads and stuff. Like that Energy Crew was one of the free downloads. I done like a Rua de Silva Touch Me techno remix.
I've got them all. I've got them all downloaded.
I done a power of stuff, man. And that was probably inspired me and gave me the drive to like make all that stuff, that track. The thing is with music, like especially with me, like everybody will get like this, like producers, sometimes you get in ruts and you go, I can't fucking make music, I can't do this, like I'm really struggling, like how did I make these other tracks, where did I get my ideas from? But I can't even remember half the shit I made, man. Like I made a power of stuff. I done loads, mate. I done fucking loads. Like I done a Vera Lynn remix, like We Will Meet Again, which was like an old song for like the Second World War. I done like a kind of housey bootleg of it.
I've got that one and all downloaded. I think I've got everything that you've made, mate. And see, the thing as well is, I think a lot of folk have been very negatively impacted with the lockdown, and it's been shite. And obviously, I've felt the effects myself, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, it's very hard to keep yourself motivated. But see, when you're constantly working on things that you're passionate about, it takes away from the feeling of just being stuck, right? Like, there's nothing worse than when you want to go and do stuff and folk are telling you that you can't. So I think the way that a lot of folk, especially in the creative space, DJing and producing, have dealt with it is just keeping working their ass off and putting new stuff out. And I think when things open up, and yous are looking at opening up already in this year, I think when the floodgates open, we're going to see hundreds of absolute top quality tunes coming out that folk have been working on over this period.
Definitely, man, definitely. And it's something that I've kind of noticed as well with the Beatport charts. So like, you used to be able to get the Beatport single charts with about 30 sales, the top 100. The threshold has changed for that now. It's up over 40. And I think it's because, as you said, there's so many producers in the studios making music and are making banging music. So like, it's getting harder and harder now to get into the Beatport charts. You know, because there is such a wide, like there's not a wide, like there's like the market's so, but something Stephen will say, the market's so heavily saturated now with stuff. Do you know what I mean? So like, there's that much good fucking music coming out. Like, it's harder to get that breakthrough into the charts because there's so much decent tunes, there's so much decent content there.
Because generally, folk, especially folk that are actively gigging and actively playing residencies and things like that, they struggle to find the time to sit down and make tunes and to get on the producing side. And I think a lot of people that have been only DJs that have maybe been DJing for a long time are now then turning into the producing side of things and having success. And I think it's, for a lot of people, it's a very negative impact, but to a certain degree, it's positively impacted a lot of the music that's coming out, just due to giving people a lot more time to sit down and make sure that everything's being done at the best of their ability, because nothing's rushed, nothing's forced, and they can take the time to learn and develop the skills and find the right things. And like you said, make a power of tracks and pick out the best ones and learn on each one and then showcase what they've been doing to the world, innit?
Mate, see, there's a few things that you've said there, right, that I would like to kind of expand on. So, like, 100%, mate, like, when you think about especially these larger DJs that are touring the world all the time, they don't have the time to make music. Like, the only time they'll probably have time to make music is maybe during the winter when all the summer gigs die down, or if they're on flights between their gigs, do you know what I mean? So, like, you know, like, that's the only downtime they'll have. They might have a 12-hour flight from, like, wherever to wherever, and they'll go, right, okay, I can get 6 hours sleep and I can get 6 hours in production and I'll try and make some music. But that's very, like, I think that's really forced, man. Like, really forced production, and like you're like forcing yourself to make music. I think music needs to come naturally. Do you know what I mean? And it's, as you says, it's all about like quality, not quantity. Like, and that's something that I've kind of learned over the years in that as well. Where years ago, like, me and Alan would make a track in a night, and we would go, we've not really checked it over. We'll just fucking upload it. Fuck it. But now, for me, like, I've got music that I'm wanting to release on the Close Contact label. I've got 2 banging tracks, mate. Guess how long I've been sitting on them for?
What? A while, I'm guessing. At least a few months.
A year.
Fucking hell.
So, 2 banging tracks I've been sitting on for a year. And it's tracks, one of the tracks I've been like, oh, banging, I just need to find the right label for it. And the other track was... It's kind of conflicting with me, what the Daz Scott sound. Like, it's tech housey, but it's also it's kind of swinging into like the kind of popular tech house, like kind of like Fisher and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm not sure if I want to release that. Like, if I was going to release it, I was going to put it for a free download, but I've had a bit of time to think about it, and I'm going to release both of them. Whether it's going to be singles or EPs, I don't know, but I've been sitting on the tracks for a year, mate. Do you know what I mean? And see, now, that's advice that I would give to producers, like music producers. If you're not 100% on the track, don't get yourself overexcited straight away about releasing the music. Sit on it for a few weeks, sit on it for a couple of months, make sure it's perfect before you put it out there. Because see, at the end of the day, that's your art. Do you know what I mean? And like, alright, okay, if you've just started out and like you're just throwing shit on SoundCloud just to kind of like, do you know what I mean? Fuck it, I'll just upload it and like get it out there. Alright, fair enough. But like, if you really want to develop your sound and like become a better producer, you do need to sit on stuff, because I've made tracks in a night that I thought I've been banging, man. Like totally sober, been like, that track's banging, that's amazing. I've went to sleep, woke up the next day and went, holy fuck, that's shite. Do you know what I mean? And it's, you need to give your ears a bit of time to rest and like, kind of almost like recalibrate.
Sit down and reflect on things that you've made and not just fall in love with the first thing you do. And I think I read somewhere or I watched a video and I heard somewhere, I can't even remember who it was. I'm fucking, my memory's horrible, my brain's fried. But I was watching something, or I read something about one of these bigger name producers, and they were talking about how they'll when they make a track, they'll put it on repeat for hours and hours and hours and just listen to the same song over and over. And that's the first test, is to make sure that when they hear it over and over, you don't get sick of it. Because you want folk to want to keep listening. It doesn't get old, a timeless. You want something that you can listen to 10 years from now and you've heard a million times and it still gets everybody going. And then after that, don't listen to it for a long time and then do the same thing again.
And then revisit it.
Revisit it and make sure it's still quality, make sure it still holds up to the same time as you made it. And he says he maybe does that a few times, and then in between he's working on different stuff and making tweaks each time he puts it on. And I think that is something that only benefits people that do any sort of art, is to give yourself time to take the bias out of it and to step away and to give yourself a bit of an outside look on what you've done and appreciate it from a standpoint where, although you're the one who made it, and it, to a certain degree, it's like the baby thing in it, where everybody thinks their baby's the cutest baby, right?
Yeah.
You need to give yourself that step back and that outside view of it to make sure that it's something that it is exactly what it is that you want it to be.
100%, mate. Definitely. And like, that's a kind of method that I apply to my music and that as well. Me and Alan work differently, so like, that's probably one of the reasons why we bounce off each other in the studio, because we work so differently. And so when he's made music, he will only listen to it. He will only put it on SoundCloud as private, like, or whatever, do you know what I mean? And then listen to it when he's driving to work or anything like that. Like, he'll just make the track and go, right, fuck it, I'll listen to that in a couple of weeks, and if I still like it, I like it. But me, after I've made a track or I'm making an EP or developing an EP, I'll put it onto my SoundCloud as private so nobody else can see it. And I'll fucking obsess over that, mate. Like, listen to it 2 or 3 times while driving to work and try and pick out bits that I don't like. Do you know what I mean? And see the amount of times I've done that, I need to change that. And what see as soon as like it embeds in your head, whether it be like, I'm not sidechaining too much, I need to EQ a bit more out that kick, I need to do that, I need to do that. It makes you a better producer, mate. I think it does, man, 100%, because you start to understand all the elements that are happening in the track, and you can also strip it down like individually, like each point. Do you know what I mean? It's like American football players, I suppose. Football players in the UK and basketball players, they all watch tape. They all watch their games back. They pick out, like, oh, that probably wasn't the smartest move there. What UFC. Should I have done? UFC, exactly. Watching fights, watching tape, and you learn about yourself. And if you're not aware of the mistakes that you're making and you're not aware of the things that you're doing, then you don't advance, you don't change them, you don't make the changes that need to be made. And it's analytical, isn't it? It's like anything. You've got to treat it like you've got to treat any skill the same. You can't just think that you're the best in the world, because 9 times out of 10 you're not. You need to be humble enough to step back and criticise your own work and figure out where it is that you maybe not dog shit,
but where you can improve, where you can make it better and better and better.
This is where we were talking about earlier on the feedback thing, right? And honestly, see if you can't take feedback, good or bad. I mean, if you can't take bad feedback, you're not right. You're not right for the game. All right, okay, you can do it as a hobby, but that's all it'll ever be. If you can't take feedback and not lose your shit, you're not right for it, man. You need to be able to look back and go, right, okay, why is that not right? I need to, again, close yourself inside the studio, fucking understand it, analyse it and go, right, okay, didn't they like this bit? They had that to say. Why did they not like that? And develop your sound and become a better producer. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. And see, a decent music producer can ghost produce for people. Do you know what I mean? They can work on different projects and they don't necessarily need to be the main artist on. I mean, look at guys like Dr. Dre. Do you know what I mean? He produces for rap artists. I seen a thing that he produced music for Lady Gaga and stuff like that. The guy's just a genius. Do you know what I mean? I can guarantee if Dr. Dre doesn't like something in the studio, if he's working with an artist, he'll turn around and go, that's dog shit. Obviously not maybe as harsh as that, but you need to change that. That's not right. That's not up to my standard. If it isn't up to my standard, I don't want it released. And that's the best way to work, because then you know you're putting out the best that you can put out. And when people listen to it, they're going to go, holy fuck, that's an amazing bit of art, you know? I remember me and Alan sat and listened to the Compton soundtrack. Do you remember when the Compton soundtrack came out?
Yep.
Mate, me and Alan, obviously, we're big lovers of rap music, Wu-Tang Clan, Eminem, blah, 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 and list of power names. NWA, Ice Cube, whatever. We listened to the Compton soundtrack, mate, and me and Alan, obviously, because we'd produced rap beats and all the rest of it, we sat and listened to it and we were all like that. Holy fuck, this is a masterpiece, man. It's an actual masterpiece. And it's because Dr. Dre in the studio's I'm not putting shit out unless it's the best. Do you remember the album Detox that was meant to happen with Dr. Dre?
Yep.
Aye. Get scrapped because he wasn't happy with it.
Aye.
I think it's nothing.
I think you've nailed it there. Is you need to, even the top artists, and Dr. Dre's widely regarded as many people in hip hop as one of the best producers or one of the most iconic producers anyway to ever come out of hip hop. And the ability to criticise yourself is definitely got to be there so that you can grow. And I think it's a balance though, because there's a lot of producers as well that overanalyze and get themselves caught up trying to make something almost perfect, and they waste so much time on one thing that they don't get through the whole process. Even DJing as well, people will get they'll get halfway through a mix and they'll obsess over making this one thing perfect in the mix, and then they have a bunch of half-made mixes or half-made songs, and they don't ever practice the end aspect of it, where you're finalising things and you're EQing and you're mastering and everything else. Towards the end, they don't get the practice in that, so they get so good at the first half, and then after the first half, everything goes to shit because they don't. And it's all repetitions. You need to be able to do the whole thing over and over again, and you need to remember that, like you said, you don't need to put everything out. If you make something start to finish, and then you can always go back and keep working on it and making changes and everything, but you need to keep doing the process.
And you can sit on, as I says, you can sit on a track for a year, mate. Do you know what I mean? You can sit on a track for a year, and if you're not happy with it at that point in time, you don't need to bid it. You don't need to upload it as a free download. If you think to yourself, you know what, right now, this is the right for me to release this, I can sit on it. Sit on it for a year. Sit on it for 2 years. Sit on it for 5 years. Do you know what I mean? When you die, it can fucking maybe get released after you die. Whatever. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? But you don't, as long as you're making the best music, and you know that within yourself, and you know that you're 100% happy with what you're doing, Melody always puts out tweets saying, like, don't worry about, like, over-engineering your tracks. Like, I've got music released that's demos, do you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. But, you know, I guarantee, like, they guys, like, they've released their demos and they're like, fuck, I wish I could have finished it, do you know what I mean? And that's my point. Like, for me, I've released music and I've made the mistake where I've released music, I've went, wow, man, I wish, like, that wasn't a finished track. I wish I could go back and change that. But the music that I've done recently, maybe in the last year or so, I've been 100% happy with at that point in time. And it's almost making peace with yourself that, like, you've done the best you can. You know what I mean? And if you obviously, like, you're developing as, like, an artist or producer all the time. So, like, you might look back in that piece of music and say, all right, I'm not happy with it now. But you can say to yourself, at that moment in time, I've done everything that I could, and it's the best piece of work. So see, we were talking about Scream earlier on, see that remix he'd done In For The Kill?
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, that's a demo.
I know, I seen him talking about this recently, and I was actually just about to say that to you as well. I don't know, on Instagram recently, you've seen Screams coming out with a lot of old unreleased stuff that he's now going back on working on and tweaking, and you see him in the studio and it's like, this is a tune I made in 2004, and this is back in the days where it was dubstep and things like that, and he probably wasn't, or he was actually putting out his dubstep and he wasn't doing as much of the house and techno stuff, and he was still making that music, and he sat on it now for fucking 10, 15 years, and now all of a sudden he's going back and he's trying to finish them and working on them more. And it just is it's a prime example of the folk at the very top that are doing exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. I seen a tweet that he put out, man, which was, like, completely fucking blowing my mind. And, like, do you know that way? It was a Wolf of Wall Street moment where, like, they're fucking rookie numbers, do you know what I mean? You're slacking, like, you need to up the numbers. So he said, during the lockdown, I've made, like, 150 tracks. I'm like, what?
How can you do
150 tracks, mate? Like, I've made, all right, okay, I've maybe made 20, 30 at a push, but 150?
I know, and I think it just kind of shows you the mindset he's got, where he's no stressing about anything. It's just like getting his repetitions in, finding the ones that have potential, finding the ones that work. Like you said, finding ones that maybe have potential in the future, and you're just going to, right, I'll come back to that. And it's just, it gives folk motivation that not everything that you have to do has to be perfect, right? Like, you have plenty of time to work on it, and you even look at a lot of, that's the beauty about DJing as well. It's not everybody thinks it's a young person's game. It's not. No. I mean, look at Fatboy Slim, look at Carl Cox. They boys are in their 50s, coming up in 60 shortly. And
definitely, you're an advantage when you're younger. But if your skills are undeniable, man, like, even when you're getting into your later years, as you said, like, it's that kind of industry that, it's probably even the wrong way to, like, word it, like, industry, because it's, you can't really think about it that way. It's a scene, do you know what I mean? So as long as you've got the skills to, like, back it up, like techno and house and, like, underground dance music, whatever genre it is, like, they're always going to approach the guys that are making the best music or doing the best sets. And as you said there, like, Carol Cox has been ahead of the game. Like, he's been a major player, like, since, like, the beginning of the 90s or however long. So, like, 30 plus years, maybe. Carol Cox has been in the scene, which is
late
insane.
80s.
Aye, man.
Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Darryl. I think we've done about an hour and a half here, and we've still got so much more to talk about, but
I'll come back at some point, mate.
Definitely. We'll get you back on here in the next few months, especially with all the close contact stuff you're going to be doing, and we'll get an update with you, and we'll see what you've been doing over. I'm excited to see what you're going to do in the next few months here. Like you said, you were talking about the EP coming out. You've been working on the record label over there with 2 tracks already out. If you haven't checked them out yet, make sure to go over to Close Contact on Instagram and go and give the tracks a listen, download them, buy them on Beatport, all that good stuff, and check Darryl out if you want to let everybody know where to find you.
Well, it's my music alias is Daz Scott, so you can find me on Instagram, Daz Scott Music, SoundCloud, Daz Scott. If you can search Daz Scott on Google, I'm up the top of Google as well.
Man's made it.
Know what I mean? So I'm very searchable. If you want to go listen to my music, it's very much appreciated. Give me a follow. Also support close contact, and also follow the man Chazza here as well, because this is some very interesting stuff you're doing right now. This is my first podcast and I fucking loved it. I loved every second of it, man. Brilliant.
Good, mate. I'm glad that we can be the first one. And like I said, I was speaking to Stephen over the last few weeks, and this was one that I was excited for because me and you have known each other for a long time, and it's been far too long since we've had a good catch up like this. And I've been keeping tabs and everything that you've been doing over there, and all the music you've been putting out. It's been absolutely phenomenal. So it's been an absolute pleasure to have you, and I'm sure we'll get you back sooner rather than later.
Yeah, thanks very much, mate. Very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you very much to everyone once again for tuning in to a Little House on the Prairie podcast. All of the support you've been showing me means a lot to me. If you haven't already, check out Daz Scott's mix that was posted on Friday. That's live on our SoundCloud, and all of the other mixes from previous weeks are all on there. So if there's any that you have to catch up with, make sure to go and do that. All of our episodes, including our episode last week with Drewski, are all online on YouTube and on our RSS feed for audio-only listeners. We are working on getting it put on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so stick with us for that. Massive shout out once again to Payl Studios for supporting us. Those guys have been brilliant. We've got lots of big things coming up here. Speaking of which, we are going to be doing our second giveaway. This giveaway is going to consist of 2 Payl Studios t-shirts, any size, any colour, any design that they have on their website. You guys can let me know what it is that you want. I will get those ordered in and I'll send them out to you. So thank you to those guys for once again supporting me in this giveaway. The giveaway winner will be announced in 2 weeks' time on our podcast. To enter, all you have to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel and send a screenshot to Wavelength Radio on Instagram showing you subscribed, and you will be entered into the competition.